Greetings, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for joining me. Ask me your question. Go ahead.
Okay, wow. All right, let's do this. Okay. Hi, dear David. I've got a question. So it's about pranayama. And I've done that video course of yours. And I just want to clarify things with the Jalandhara Bandha. There seems to be no Jalandhara Bandha, Jalandhara Bandha position.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Okay, yes. Yes, I remember your question. So her question, you guys, it's about Jalandhara Bandha, like when to apply it. And she's saying that she's been taught to raise her head up when she's not in the retention. All right, but in my video, I keep my head down the whole time. All right, and so for one thing, and this pertains to all of your questions, actually. There isn't just one way to do things for the most part, and and you're kind of walking a line between experimenting, kind of exploring, exercising your curiosity, trying different options, versus kind of honing in on what's best, what actually works. So it's not just a kind of anything goes, it's all good. But at the same time, there's a lot of different ways you can approach these things. Okay, and so Jalandhara Bandha is a perfect example. Okay, so in my video, I keep the head down throughout, but I'm applying the bandha at different times more strongly than others. Okay, but also you can bring your head up and make a level position for your head and neck and give a rest, because that Jalandhara Bandha, that's a hard move, actually. Seems simple, but it's challenging to keep your neck free of tension and to lower your chin. And so you can raise your head up in between. You can experiment with that, and then lock down at the strategic moments, and then you can also keep the head down for longer periods of time and apply the bandha more subtly. Like so your head being down and lowered is kind of one level of stopping energy, right? But then you can go further by like really locking your chin onto the notch between the collarbones and putting a lot of vigor or force behind the move. Okay, so hopefully that answers your question. Somebody else has written in here. Oh, okay, here we go. Okay, so yeah, some of you, like, now you gotta remember, you guys, it's a dear DG. Okay, so partly then it's something deeply concerning you, what you're writing, right? So just make sure it's not too general. It's like something dear to your heart. Okay, and so somebody asks, practicing with scoliosis and with disc problems and things, so see, the thing about it is, it's every single one of us has some set of limits that we are working with, okay? And in fact, this is the thing, is one of the reasons that we practice is to encounter our limits skillfully, intelligently, soulfully, okay? And it's very easy to get the mentality that, and I think to a certain degree popular yoga and even social media, it sort of implies that yoga is joy, joyousness, or bliss, and that yoga like heals you and fixes everything about you, and so then when every single one of us gets on our mat, though, we encounter all kinds of broken downness, okay, all kinds of suffering and pains and afflictions and hardship, and then we think something's wrong with us, and that we shouldn't feel that way, or that we can't, that somehow we can't, we're not okay, or that we're doing it wrong, and that's not at all true. Okay, so, and in fact, if we have that attitude that somehow we're doing something wrong and we shouldn't be in pain, or then that takes away from our effectiveness in negotiating our limits. Okay, and this is the thing about yoga, is that, and Ashtanga, okay, especially the way that I teach it, Ashtanga, and as a representative of yoga, you can do Ashtanga with any limit, okay? And scoliosis is a big one, especially if it's very pronounced. And same with degenerating discs or spinal problems. Okay, these are things you can't ignore, and that you really have to be sensible in your approach. And I marvel, or I'm shocked or horrified at how, especially people that are younger or more able, that have like scoliosis or things, they kind of buy into the more standard Ashtanga model of just do your practice and go to the furthest extent, and it's all going to be good. And that can be, and what's that mentality, it's amazing what you can do for some period of time. You could practice for months or years doing surprisingly advanced asanas and without really too much ill effect. But the accumulation, okay, down the road, this doesn't work. Okay, and so you can say that the greater the limits you have, the more you work with the basics. Okay, this is my whole approach to teaching. Okay, that I give you this foundation in the very basics of yoga. So I teach you about practicing with a neutral pelvis and a neutral spinal column. And so that when you forward bend, or you back bend, or you twist, you're doing it with awareness, and you understand everything in degrees, and in very precise degrees. Okay, so Because with scoliosis, like your spine is crooked. Okay, so it means that there's a definite like imbalance built in. Right? So we all have a certain amount of imbalance. The right and the left is different, and all kinds of little discrepancies. Okay, but if someone with scoliosis, those discrepancies can be more pronounced, and so really then they want to stay closer to neutral. Okay, and you see, this is the thing too. Everybody, I'm talking to you from the heart here, to your heart. You see, this is an amazing thing about life and about yoga, which is that the universe will never give you a limit meanly. Okay, so that, in other words, to put it this way, you have all the equipment you need to walk your individual path in yoga and in life. Okay? And this includes every limit that you have. And this is the hardest part to relate to, but this includes your mistakes. Okay, so, right, because to a certain degree, you can accept a limit that is genetic or something, right? But then think of the limits that we've created by our choices, like by the consequences of the mistakes that we've made and that have got us into trouble, and we've hurt ourselves, and right? And so, but even those, every moment you have what you need. Okay, but you see what happens is we don't have faith in that, or we don't trust. And so we keep trying to do things in our practice, in our choices that are the wrong. They're not suitable for our body or our circumstance. And this is how we get into trouble. Okay? And so you approach your limits very consciously and with faith, and you find the suitable step, the suitable ways to work on the postures that kind of lead towards healing. Okay, so how about that, Lucia?
Yes, this is great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. No, this helps a lot. And I was writing that in the chat, so I'll also put that in the chat.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, here we go with another one. Dear David, I feel fear when I attempt backbends like Kapotasana and dropbacks. Through practice, it has gotten better, and I wonder if it could further work with it using any kind of visualization or mantra to help me get through that fearful state and trust that I will be okay. All right, so look here, Victoria, I think somebody else wrote me about the mantra. Okay, so you got to understand something. Okay, so for me, I'm sorry, so I give you little stingers here once in a while, okay? So, but in short, my answer that like chanting Om Namah Shivaya as you go back in Kapotasana is probably not going to help you that much. Okay? I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, and I don't mean any disrespect to Shiva. But I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Or and certainly it's not that you don't want to do that. Do it for sure if you want. But you see, here's the thing you got to keep in mind. And see, people always mistake this. Get this, you guys. You see, people basically disregard asana. Okay, they treat asana like it's this physical thing, like it's not spiritual, and so it's just this physical thing that you do for your body, and then the spiritual part of yoga is somewhere else over here, like chanting mantras or studying the sutras or playing the harmonium or whatever you have it. And so, but see, this is the mistake, is that an asana is a yantra, okay? And there's only one letter difference between mantra and yantra. And basically, they're exactly the same thing. Okay, so a mantra is a device, it's a sound device for meditation and focusing the mind and for prayer. But a yantra is a visual, it's a form that you meditate on, and it's as a form of prayer. Okay, so get this. When you activate your legs in Kapotasana and activate your arms and really work with your spinal gesture, when you do all the physical things that go into making that posture, that is mantra. Okay, and that's a mantra, a yantra that directly pertains to what you are doing. Okay, and so that is going to protect you. That's how you are going to make a better play for dealing with your fear. Okay, so not chanting something just, right? So anyway, that's my take on that. All right? Okay, so here we go on to the next. Okay, all right. So, I think I answered this, but I'll just go with it here read it to you. So what's your yoga advice for a mid-50s practitioner that's currently spending more time on a sitting meditation? It's more time with the sitting meditation. Okay, I do get on my mat, but with shorter asana practices for the time being. Only full practice on the weekends. It feels right, but I do want to keep a minimum maintenance asana practice. No worries, and keep doing what feels right at the time. That's my own heartfelt advice. Okay, so you guys, this is the thing. So remember that there's branches of yoga, okay, 4 main ones. And you can say that, so they're HATHA yoga, Bhakti yoga, Jnana yoga, and Karma yoga. All right, and to a certain degree, they're all in one. Okay, so if you do Hatha yoga, that's Bhakti yoga, that's Jnana yoga, and that is also Karma yoga. Okay, but then it's a useful division. Okay, and so sitting meditation, you can say that's Jnana yoga. That's the Jnana, Jnana, which means knowledge. And it's also Raja yoga. Raja yoga, sitting down in one position, and that's your yoga, internal awareness. Okay, and to a certain degree, like the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, the very beginning, it's the very first line of the book. It says that you use Hatha Yoga to climb up the staircase to the high pinnacled Raja Yoga. But it also says things later in the book like, without Hatha Yoga, there's no Raja Yoga. And without Raja Yoga, there's no Hatha Yoga. And so these two aspects of practice are deeply connected, sitting and doing the hatha yoga, the postures and the breathing and vinyasa and mudras and such. Okay, and so every person, get this, you people, everyone is going to find their own balance, their own ratio. Okay, and you have to take responsibility for it. Okay, and to me, there's no hierarchy. Okay, and this is what I'm saying before in my last answer. People put the hatha yoga down eventually. They go, hatha yoga is fine when you're young. It's a physical thing, but when you're going to get to the real yoga, you're going to meditate or something. And this is false to me. Okay, hatha yoga is meditation. Okay, it doesn't lead to meditation. It is meditation if you want it to be. Okay, but if you want to sit, if you're called to sit, well, there's no problem there either. Okay, and he does point out something true, that the discipline of hatha yoga requires consistency and long-term devotion. Okay, and so if you give it up, if you leave your asana practice behind for the longer, 6 months, 1 year, 5 years, well, then your body won't do those things as easily when you try to go back to it. And so you want to choose wisely. And to me, for me, it's all based on the love of the subject. Okay? And me, I love hatha yoga. And though I would not love hatha yoga if meditation, sitting still, was not in the center of it. Okay, so for me, even though I do so much asanas, and I don't really have a separate seated meditation practice at all, I love that seated meditation, that image, and that I draw on that all of the time. When I'm in headstand, when I'm in shoulder stand, all these poses. Okay, but I'm also making my own choice. And I am telling you, that's what you have to do for yourself. Okay, and do not let anybody tell you that you have to drop your asana practice to get to be a serious yogi. It's just not true. Or, I don't know, I'll die making that mistake if it is true. All right, so onward we go. Okay, so here's one. How do you recommend taking responsibility for it? I'm not sure what it is, but let's see what it's saying. Without having a studio or a teacher in person. If you're not close to a teacher or... Okay, so this, Stephen, he's in my Ashtanga Foundations, Mysore Foundations class. So, hey, Stephen. And so he's asking about, if you don't have a studio or a teacher in person, then how do you take responsibility? And another person wrote me about that, of saying like she's moving away from her teacher and only has some community or something. And again, I can tell you, my entire method of teaching is built around giving you the power to practice on your own. Okay, when I teach you, I imagine you're Tom Hanks in Castaway. You're stuck on an island, no internet, no guru, Only coconut trees or whatever. Or maybe snow caves. And what are you going to do? You're going to remember DG's principles. No, I'm serious. So it's very possible for every one of you that's here to approach your practice very systematically and have a robust, thriving, healthy practice without a teacher and without a studio. Okay? But it takes training. And so it's funny, he mentioned COVID at the end, like COVID times. And I can tell you, I have about, in the neighborhood of 10 people that have basically taken every online class I've offered since COVID began. It's approximately 2 years. And those individuals, some of them are in here, Jackie and Tara, I cannot believe what they've learned in 2 years. And I can safely say that Jackie, Tara, if you're stuck by yourself somewhere, I have no worry about you being able to practice yoga. And so it is, and I like how, Stephen, how you said that you have to take responsibility for it. And you do. But to me, there's a body of knowledge. There's a way to self-monitor. Okay? And you can learn it. It takes about 2 years with me, I would say. And if you really embrace what I'm showing you, 2 years later, you'll know how to practice. Okay. And then Jackie, she asks, I like this question. Your advice for, or the process when you feel extreme inertia or tamas guna in practice. Okay, so see, I have some different takes on yoga than many people, and even the different lineages. See, so you have these gunas, right? 3 gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas. So 3 strands that weave together in all different combinations and make the universe. Okay, so the whole material world in yoga philosophy is said to be made of tamas, rajas, and sattva. And all of the texts, all except for one, actually, or one author, they make sattva guna. So this is the quality of lightness or harmony, and this is like the color white, purity. That's the hero. So all yoga practice, it's all about sattva guna. And so rajas is activity, tamas is inertia, and both of those are basically evil, right? That tamas guna is about depression and lethargy and sluggishness, right? And rajas is about worry and fear and anxiety and busyness and tension. And that's a good model. Okay, that's a good model. And so when you use that model, then, Jackie, so then you combat inertia with rajas, trying to create this kind of balance that creates sattva. So when you're feeling that lethargy, you get busy, you activate, you like what I have you do, that outside sound breathing. Instead of ujjayi, you go. So you kind of fight through that inertia, and you try to find a sattvic state. Okay, and a lot of my teaching encourages that. Like when I talk about, and on Ashtanga itself, it's a whole system basically based on overcoming tamas. That's what vinyasa is. Okay, and what happens though in Ashtanga, you see, this is what a funny thing, but there are so many vinyasas that we stop putting energy into them. They just come so fast and furious that we just start going on automatic and start doing them either with a kind of rajas or tamas vibe. But that's not the spirit of it. Okay, so Ashtanga, and vinyasa is, it really is to pay attention to your movements, how you transition into poses, and to actually use movement to create the pose. Okay, and so the vinyasa itself is an answer to inertia, Jackie. And the whole crouch, I call it vinyasa is the art of the crouch, where you prepare for action and spring. And you go into pure action. And you make every transition count. You bring power and awareness and expressiveness to it. Okay, and that helps you to overcome inertia. Okay, but now I'll go back to where I was headed with this before, which is, there's one author that I love. His name is a Frenchman. His name was Alain Danielou. And he has a book about the myths and gods and goddesses of India. And in that book, that man, he points out, he turns the whole model of the gunas upside down. And he shows you how tamas guna is the highest guna. Because chitta vritti nirodha, that yoga is a state of absolute stillness. The mind goes silent, and all the activity stops. So you can say that the state of yoga is a state of pure inertia, pure tamas guna, and holy. It's when you make inertia holy. It's the goal, Jackie. Inertia's the goal of yoga, not the enemy, right? And so to a certain degree, see, this is a real strategy, Jackie. So when you feel tired, you feel heavy, you actually incorporate that into what you're doing. Okay, so you don't just try to fight through it and bring a lot of energy to it. No, you actually go with it. Because grounding and weightedness, you embrace it somehow. And you work with it. And this is one of the reasons that I talk to you in the postures, is that there's this dual quality that you're always seeking for, the mutual arising of opposites. Okay, so that you're on one hand, you're full of vigor. The whole body is charged, dynamic. So you're lengthening and strengthening. The whole body is activated to make your pose. And you use your mind like a probe, scan through everywhere, waking up all the parts. Okay, but at the same time, you're dropping like a rag doll. You have total inertia. Okay, and you want both of those qualities to arise in the same moment. Full action and no action. All right. So that somebody asked about, do you have advice on how to calm down a too intense Rajasic practice without losing the engagement? And I just talked to you about that, all right? And it's not easy to do, right? You have to practice. Ashley, is that Ashley or Casey, I wonder, who's actually doing that? But they're saying, may I chant like a martial artist does during a strike, something before executing a vinyasa to help me address my near end of practice inertia? Yes. So you guys, if you're in my class, you know that I'm having you do what I call it's a mudra. Okay, so mudra is a gesture, right? And it's called Simha Mukti Mudra. Simha Mukta Mudra. And so Simha is the lion, right? And that's the Mukta's face. So the lion-faced gesture. All right? And so that's this. It's when you make a terrible face. You bug out your eyes and stick out your tongue, and you bring this horrible tension to your face. And I like doing it on the exhalation. Okay? And you can do this throughout your practice. And if it's Casey or Ashley, I think it's Casey asking that, not Ashley. That's my imagining. But yeah, you can do that. It's like a chant, actually. It's both a mantra and a yantra in one. Okay, and remember, yeah, so you can do things to wake yourself up. This Jordan, he's not going to let me off the hook here. He's like asking it in all these different ways. Jordan, he's asking me about fasting. And I don't fast much, honestly. I kind of wish I did, but I don't. And I do eat some reasonably sparingly. And I eat simple foods so that I don't burden my digestion too much, or I try not to anyway. And he's asking me, do I do it to increase Agni? And you guys that know me, do you think I need to increase my Agni? I don't think so. But I do think that very moderate fasting is an excellent yoga device, and I wish that I made more use of it, honestly. But I don't think extreme fasting is a good idea. I think healthy, moderate food, starting from there or centering yourself there is the way to go. And then if you can mount to it, then a little once a week or once a month, one day. And you can also do little mini fasts, though, and drink water, and just throughout the day. Just try to have periods of time where you keep your digestion as quiet as possible. All right? Let's see here. Okay, so this is kind of along where I'm at. Somebody asked me this series, Kelly, hi Kelly, if you're there, asked me this question. It's a series of questions, and I'll kind of ask, they're about me and my practice. So I'm going to try to answer them very briefly, actually, and sort of small. So do I practice at the same time every day? I would say for the most part. Okay, I'm not really that strict on it, or militant, but just by the way that I structure my day, I generally practice at the same time. But I don't do it like I set an alarm clock and I'm on there at 4 a.m. every morning. But it ends up being, I practice early in the morning. Okay, and it's variable. Sometimes that means 5 o'clock. Or sometimes it means 8. Okay, then do you practice first thing in the morning? Yes. Although what I do now for some time, and I really like it, is I go for a walk first. Okay, so the very first thing I do when I wake up, I just put on my shoes and I go for a walk. Okay, and that's about 20 minutes or maybe a little longer some days, and then I go practice. Okay. Do I ever practice more than once a day? I often practice more than once a day, and I will tell you that over the years my practice has changed, and so I cannot say that I do like the traditional, very sweaty kind of 2-hour of intense Ashtanga practice. And so I practice outside mostly, and even in the winter, and so I just have to qualify it with that, is that I don't. So, but I do. I practice very often in the morning, and then again in the afternoon or evening. Yes. Okay. And but don't get the idea. I don't do like first series or second series in the morning and then do that later. No, nothing like that. And I'll tell you a quick story about that. Is that I did do that when I started Ashtanga, and I started Ashtanga with the founder. I went to Los Angeles when he was on tour, and I'd never done Ashtanga before. I just walked right into the master's class, and I was so just blown away by the whole thing. I'd never encountered anything like Ashtanga. It was in 1993. It was a long time ago, before Vinyasa was so popular, and certainly Ashtanga wasn't popular. And so I would go and I would practice in the morning, but then I would go do it later in the park too. And then I went to Maui after I went to Los Angeles. I followed him, and I really wanted to do second series for some reason. I don't even know how I learned about second series, because I didn't even know primary series really. And so I asked him, I was like, can I do second series? And he said, oh, I'm looking your practice. And so I went up to him after, and and I said, well, can I do it? And I guess he didn't see my practice, so he goes, yes, you come. So I go to second series, and I'm like totally lost. I have no idea what I'm doing. not flexible. I mean, I didn't even practice primary really, right? And so, and I had seen these videos of him adjusting people in the poses, you know, like, and I was like, and people doing those advanced poses, like, and I was only like 28 or something, and I really wanted to do all the advanced poses, you know, and so I thought he was going to like put me in the poses, you know, and so somehow I survived that lead class up to Ekapada Shirshasana, right, where you put your leg behind your head, and then he comes over to me right in front of me, and you guys, my Baddha Konasana, here's my knees, and here's my pelvis. I was like this, okay? I had not even the slightest prayer of putting my leg behind my head. And so he goes, yes, you do. He just stood there, and I thought he was going to like come crank my leg behind my head for me, you know? Thank God he didn't. But I couldn't do it, not even close. And he goes, long time primary you do, bad man. And that was the end of that. And also, I asked him about practicing twice a day, if that was a good idea. He said, no, very danger. Very danger. So when I say I practice twice in a day, it's not like a full-on Ashtanga practice. But you guys, being outside in my backyard temple, that's my favorite place to be. Okay? And so it's a good day when I get back out there a second time and do some little stuff. All right? Okay. So how long do I typically practice? Okay, so all of these questions, you guys, you've got to understand. You probably already do understand. And maybe that's why you're here. DG is a renegade. All right? I like discipline and structure, all of these things are hard for me. Not easy. Okay, and me, I go, and a lot of you wrote to me and asked me about like, how do you motivate to practice, and a lot of questions like that, and I can just tell you that, so how do you, and then there's questions like, do you practice on moon days? Like, and that's one of this ones. Do you honor moon days? And then kind of they're asking me about rules, basically, about following the rules. And I can tell you that what motivates me to practice is basically setting a high priority on doing whatever I want for as long or as short as I want. Okay, so how long I practice at each time I practice is ridiculously variable. Okay, sometimes I go outside and do one sun salutation, and that's the end of it. And then other times I'm there for 2.5 hours. Okay, so it's very variable how much I practice, and so the thing is. But to me, the more important question is, it's about motivation. Okay, and it's also about rule following. Okay, and so I want to say a few words about this to you. Okay, so one is that there's a ton of rules in yoga. Okay, you can say yoga is a system of rules. All right? And they all, and there's a kind of spectrum. Okay, and you could say that it goes from a superficial spectrum to deep. Superficial to deep. Okay, and that the superficial and the deep are connected, but at the same time, they're not. and in the sense that they're not connected, there's a hierarchy of rules. Okay? So that, and you want to think like that. So when you go through the list of rules, which are the most important and which are the least important? Okay, and what surprises me about people's questions often is that they ask me about rules that I do not consider a priority at all. Okay, like practicing on a moon day. Who cares? I'm sorry, I just don't care. It's like practice on a moon day or don't. Okay, and I'm sorry, I get a little heated, all right, but don't just withstand the heat. I'm a softie too. Okay, and you see, some of the rules really do get me riled up. But it's only a kind of momentary reaction. Because every rule, actually, especially ones that last, it has some logic somewhere. Even if it becomes kind of misinterpreted or somehow it seems illogical or doesn't make sense. So I do try to understand the logic behind the rule. Okay, and so anyway, I want to I have a poem for you that I wrote about this. Where did it go? Oh, okay. So, okay, and sorry, but before I read that poem, I want to say one other thing to you. So, I'm going to give you an example of the deep rule of yoga. Okay, the deepest rule, like one, is that karma, the law of karma. Okay, so in yoga, you live your life as though every action you take has consequences, and that those consequences are not random or arbitrary. The law of karma says that every action leads to its necessary outcome. Okay, and so basically that's saying if you do bad, right? Bad is going to come to you. And if you do good, you're going to accumulate merit. And it's not this is a law of the universe. And it's a hidden law. Okay? Because when you look around, there's so much corruption, so much injustice, so much suffering. And when you look, it doesn't look like there's cause and effect. It doesn't look like if you do bad, you get bad. Okay? But the yogi sets up his whole life based on trusting that knowledge and that reality, that basis of reality. Hey, that's a rule to live by. That's a rule you don't go breaking easily. That's a rule you care. Okay? And so if you find these profound rules in yoga that are in the yamas and the niyamas, the first limbs of yoga, then those are, you can say they're abstract. Okay, or at least they're, you can read about them, but they don't give you necessarily concrete examples of how to come to a place of, say, ahimsa, where you are able to resist anger and revenge and lashing out. Okay? And this is why there's those 4 branches of yoga. Okay, so that, and then those 4 branches of yoga, they each have their rules. So there's all these hatha yoga rules. Okay, and then there's Ashtanga, and it has its set of rules. Okay, and those rules, the rules of Ashtanga, they make a difference because they help you to learn hatha yoga. And then the hatha yoga rules make a difference because they help you to learn yoga. So the superficial rules, though they may be less important compared to the bigger rules, they're connected. Okay? And so you have to learn to respect the rules. But you also have to be a thinking person and not just follow them blindly. Okay, and because to get to an experience of the deeper philosophy of yoga, like what yoga is actually trying to teach you, okay, beyond learning triangle pose or bandhas, it's a very, very individual thing. You see, this is, it's built into it's in it. Okay, this isn't something I'm making up. Okay, and so it goes back to when I was talking about the limits. Okay, we all have our limits, but we all have the exact equipment we need to walk the path that's been laid out for us. Okay, every person has a different way to go, a different life to live. Okay, and part of yoga is to trust that individual way that you've been given. Okay, and so and this, you see, this is the juxtaposition between like following the Ashtanga system. See, because a lot of your questions are around that. It's like, how can I be a good Ashtanga student? And yet, right? And so you're trying to negotiate that. You're trying to understand Ashtanga as a hatha yoga system and follow it to the best of your ability. But at the same time, you've got to customize it because you've got this whole individual set of limits. And this is a beautiful thing. Okay, and it's built into it, and I'm going to give you an example. At every step, from the most superficial, the most literal and physical application of practice to the most deep and profound and abstract. And like the Samadhi. Okay, Samadhi is the 8th limb, right? And the word itself, it means absorption. Okay, and absorption, okay, and so Samadhi, though, it normally gets translated as like this deep concentration, right? It's a very kind of almost generic or rational kind of definition where you focus on your chosen object to the point where subject and object disappear. Right? That's Samadhi. Right? When you can, and it's like a chitta vritti nirodha. It's like stopping the mind activity, stopping thinking, because you're so absorbed in the object of your attention. Okay, but what they don't focus on is samadhi. The absorption means to be fascinated with. It means to cast a spell upon. It means to be enraptured. Okay? Now look at this. Okay, fascination and when you experience rapture, that is a very subjective feeling. Okay? That's you feeling immense joy. Okay, and this is important. See, so at every level of the practice, you liking it, is absolutely essential. Okay, so if you're asking, how can I be motivated? Somehow you're not enjoying it enough. You have not tweaked it to the right degree and taken the reins of it for yourself. Okay, and in the Yoga Sutras, it's amazing. There's a powerful sutra. It's number 17 on the first chapter. And it gives you 4 ways to create samadhi, to go into this state of absorption. And 2 of them are more like what I was just talking about. They're very rational. They're like, it's called vitarka, where you basically compare and measure. Okay, so it's very analytical. So your mind, you focus your mind by analysis. Okay, but the other 2 are bliss and just the word asmita, which is I amness. Just, so do you understand that you loving what you do is absolutely essential to this. You loving what you do supersedes rules. Okay? And okay, so now I've got these couple of poems for you. So one is, to make your way and be happy, you must live in 2 opposite worlds at the same time. Okay, so I'm giving you this poem. This is David. This is me and my experience of practicing yoga and embracing Ashtanga yoga, even though I'm a renegade. Okay? So it goes, to make your way and be happy, you must live in 2 opposite worlds at the same time. In one world, you follow the rules. Okay, in one world, you follow the rules. In the other, you make up the rules. All right, and you're doomed. You are doomed if you only follow the rules or only make up the rules. Okay, so it's the combination of following and making up the rules that puts you in the driver's seat of your inward quest to the sacred center of you. Okay, listen to that last line. It's the combination of following and making up rules that puts you in the driver's seat of your inward quest to the sacred center of you. See, I am so thankful for Ashtanga, that it's not just David out in his backyard making it all up as he goes. No, I rely on Ashtanga and Hatha yoga and yoga itself. But I also completely go my own way. Okay, and then the next poem is this. See, and this, I'm telling you right from my heart on this. And it's through This is a deep experience I have had, and I feel that the universe contrived for me to have it. So there's no one in this wide world who has a more direct pipeline to God than you. Okay? You are the best one out of anyone to know how to chart your course inward to the land of spirit at your center. So then be strong during the many times that you doubt or fear or panic. And be strong when you begin to think that someone else besides you needs to tell you what to do or how to do it or even who you are. So go through the list of possible candidates. The ones you might fall into thinking that know better than you. Go through the list. So there's parents, teachers, leaders, methods, groups, organizations, influencers. Whatever, go through that list and draw a line through each name. Okay? There's only one name you want. Yours. And so remember, you are connected. So remember your power. And remember that you're connected to divine love always. Whether you know it or not, and whether you want it or not, you're connected to divine love always. Okay, so that's my answer to so many of your questions. You guys, you got it. Just trust yourself and find what you love in that. So, and hopefully you've been accurate enough in your search that Hatha Yoga really is a good fit for you. That with some tweaking you can not have a problem motivating for practice because you're doing what you want to do. But some of you may even go out of Hatha Yoga. It doesn't do it for you. Go ride a bike or who knows what. There's many paths. Okay, you're in the driver's seat. And Ashtanga is there as a helper to you, not as a shackler. Hope that helps you. I will tell you, I have a backbending course coming up. Should be very excellent. It's in all levels, and yet we're exploring the backbends of Ashtanga from first, second, and third series. But it's also all level, right? So we'll be taking things in baby steps. I'm going to sign off. So have a nice day, and I will see you soon.